disappointment, that well has become so like not diluted, like muddied with reality, that it becomes, the concept of disappointment becomes like a meta-fictional narrative for wrestling in a way that is, to me, dangerous. Like, how much can they punk us, or pardon the pun, prank us? What can promotions do at this point in the age of like constant inundation of like also disappointment? Like, how disappointed can you make somebody be in a world like this?
Well, a great example that relates to Daniel Bryan is when they made him Daniel Wyatt for like 3 weeks or however long that was, if it was that long. And, you know, there was just a wholesale rejection of that, of like, no, fuck this. This is our guy. He would never join up with these people. That's totally, it's not just that we're disappointed by it. It's that we're outraged with it because it's so incongruous with everything that we know about this guy. And that was an example of where, you know, they tried to use one of the old tropes. They were like, oh, the guy you really love, right? What's the old adage that, you know, the really hot baby face when they turn makes the best heel, and the really hot heel makes the best baby face when they turn. So they were trying to, you know, disappoint people in a calculated way by having him join the Wyatt family. And there was the social media outcry. And I think that was actually one of those moments where, I'm not a ratings expert and I certainly don't have the numbers in front of me, but I do think that was something that hurt their viewership for a couple of weeks when they, you know, tried to say, oh no, Daniel Bryan isn't, you know, yes. He's this guy in a jumpsuit dressed exactly like Eric stinking Rowan. Arguably, perhaps one of the biggest jobbers in the company over the last like 5 to 8 years.
Physically the biggest, because like Luke Harper actually wins, right, and Eric Rowan doesn't. No, and I think there's an important distinction between disappointment and outrage. There are different manifestations of the disappointment. The worst is a mixture of frustration and apathy. It's not just making somebody disappointed. It's making somebody disappointed while also making them think about how you're intentionally making them disappointed. When Stone Cold Steve Austin at the end of WrestleMania 17 turned heel by joining with Vince McMahon, it worked long term, but like, how far can you push that down? Like, this is very conspiratorial, so I don't actually mean this in this way. In other words, I don't think for the last 3 years Daniel Bryan has been faking a head injury. But my question is, are we okay with the idea that the WWE, let's say in theory, I'm not accusing anyone of anything, pretended that Daniel Bryan's head injury was more serious than it actually was? And that they could have cleared him, let's say, a year ago, but wanted, or right after WrestleMania, so it wouldn't have been worth it, but they wanted to build up him for the next WrestleMania. Like, are we okay with that if it helps the story be more believable and exciting? Or would we rather a situation where what they did when they reinstated him, which is they announced it, and the next time he was on television, he got his head kicked in?
Well, I think that in the social media age, like, there's a finer line between being able to effectively create disappointment and causing outrage. I think that's kind of the problem, is like they're using a lot of the same pro wrestling techniques, but the time and the medium with which people respond to that disappointment is a little different. When you have, you know, a few disappointed people, if you and your 5 buddies watch WrestleMania and you were all disappointed by the finish, you know, that's a room of 5 disappointed people. When you get millions of disappointed people in the same space at the same time, that can create something that's a little harder to control. And I think that's something that the WWE has been struggling with because they so intentionally push social media. I mean, they just did a tournament that was basically social media exclusive. So it's that double-edged sword.
Here among the poor, sad, despicable, oppressive, misinformed, must be hard for you to bite your tongue.